learn of the tragedy that happened overnight in California. We're still learning about it. It happened hours ago, and we'll obviously continue to talk football, but with heavy hearts this morning, thinking of everyone affected out there as we hope that there is an end soon to these senseless tragedies. No other way to sort of transition other than to hope to bring a little bit of happiness or levity into an awful day here right now in this country. So let's just sort of ease into the lead block, because we do have a lot to get to, gentlemen. And thank you for letting me say that. Okay, Le'Veon Bell. Because of course, Le'Veon Bell, all right? He's at it again. You're not reading it wrong. This is how he tweeted it. He turned it upside down, tweeting this with all the text, quote, saying, I mean, I'm not going to flip this, but I'll sort of turn my head here.
Nicely done.
Just about everybody has an opinion on my life and is worried about what I'm doing. Don't judge me off my decision, because maybe this isn't what you do, but most people don't take the time to simply read between the lines, and that's clearly on them. Bell continued, because my eyes aren't strained enough.
He's doing a handstand right now.
I'm not apologizing for what I believe is right for myself, family, my family, and the rest of peers, period. Also, if you're really finding the time to figure out what I'm saying, you've proved my point. The thing is, I'm not doing a handstand because...
What?
Oh! This is weird. This is weird.
Le'Veon Bell tweet cam.
Hey, what's up, Lev Bell?
This is...
Flip that a little bit.
I didn't even know that was possible. It's very, very kind of
Are we in
strange.
the upside down? Is that what it's called? The sunken place? Oh. Get out.
We're going to, of course, chew on this and get your reactions. But let's go to Aditi right now, who sort of hopefully can turn things upright for us. She's joining us from Pittsburgh this morning. Aditi, welcome to the show. Oh, I thought you'd be upside down too. No. Let's talk about his status with the team and how everybody there is reacting to all of this.
Well, Kay, you know, it's a gorgeous morning here in Pittsburgh. I'm standing on the upper levels of the stadium. You see the sun rising behind me. The sun is certainly rising on the Steelers team, but maybe not on Bell, because I can tell you this, there is a heck of a lot of shade being thrown his way. I spoke to one of his teammates last night, and he said of Bell, he's just a cloud over us at this point. Why does he say that? He said, Bell just needs to make a decision. Either sign or not, you're in or out, and let us just move forward. What this player said to me, and what many players have said, is that this is essentially coloring what this team has accomplished. Let's not forget, the Steelers were really rough out of the gate. The defense was absolutely slashed. Then, suddenly, over the last 4 games, the Steelers have been playing significantly better on defense and, of course, on offense. James Conner, who is a tremendous story in his own right, Kay, has been a star. But every single time anybody talks about James Conner, it's in comparison to Le'Veon Bell. So I spoke to another player last night after these tweets came out, and he said, if he's questioning why are people paying attention to him, why is he doing things to get people to pay attention to him? So I'll tell you this. The Steelers knew that Le'Veon Bell is in town. They actually expected to hear from him yesterday about setting up his physical. No one had heard from him by the time I went to sleep yesterday, which, because of your early call times, frankly, is a little bit early. I'm waiting for folks to wake up today. I would not be surprised if Bell tries to come in today and start the clock on that 2-week roster exemption and, of course, cut the cunt down on when he can start getting paid.
Never a dull moment for Aditi Kinkhabwala and the Steelers. Appreciate you getting us up to speed on everything going on. The deadline for him to play, to show up, is looming. This is a great game tonight. We'll get into that. But we have to start with your reactions on the upside-down tweets, which I did not even know was possible. That's how uncool I am.
Well, there's all kind of font tricks you could do for Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. But, you know, one thing that I did take out of that, he said, if you're taking the time to figure out what I mean by this, it proves my point. And it does prove his point, because as much as he may be removed from the game, we're still talking about him. And he's not just a black cloud looming over the Steelers. He's a cloud of entertainment looming over football. He's just that good. And I know that we all were sitting there trying to figure it out, like the end of a Mad magazine or one of those pictures that you had to squint your eyes and figure the shape inside it.
3D
Because I sure did turn my phone around and I was like, what is this dude trying to say?
It's a schooner.
That's exactly what it is. So for me, I do appreciate the fact that he's just taking little subtle shots at everybody that wants to talk about him and still are very concerned about his whereabouts and what he's doing.
You got to imagine what the Steelers are thinking right now. We've won 4 straight games. We just beat the Ravens in their building. We're the red hot team. We got a running back who overcame Hodgkin's lymphoma and is now playing at this high level. We've got a left tackle who's a former military man who's now playing at an all-pro level. And we're doing all this, and they're talking about this guy who hasn't been in camp and is playing at LA Fitness shooting hoops. I mean, that is with an upside-down tweet. You got to imagine. So when Aditi says dark cloud, that's where I'm coming from, where at some point as a man and as a hardworking individual, you say, I'm doing work, I'm earning. Why are we talking about the guy who's not here, who's in the city, but is he not? He spelled farewell wrong. Like, it's such a circus with this guy. And yet, we're on the tracks. We're going somewhere. I love the Steelers fan base because they are so passionate. And when these things first started out, a lot of them had Le'Veon Bell's back. That has changed so much. This is a man on an island right now. And those tweets, it seemed like a man crying for help, saying, hey, look at me. And I'm not sure anyone wants to look at him in that building or in that city right now.
It's week 10. I look at that tweet and he just must be so bored. You know, like I think back to like my calculator. You could write certain like body parts if you flipped upside down in the back of the classroom. That's basically what he's doing. And it's like, yeah, exactly. And with a 5 at the end too. And Nate, like he says, if you're finding the time to figure out what this means, like it's the Da Vinci Code or something. You know what I mean? Like he's banks it. You flip it upside down and that's it. It's like, that's your message about solidarity as the position in my family. Like,
you're not impressed.
No. What is his next tweet going to be like pig Latin? I know he ate K, the Ranchise Fay Ag Tay, but Honor K, James K is an adass bay. I can write that, right? I also, I guarantee everybody watching at home follows at least one person who was dropping upside down tweets last night.
Oh, no.
It is so annoying. I'm going to put it up there immediately. We debate where Le'Veon is with the running backs. I will put upside down tweeting up there with hold my beer Twitter, that feeling when Twitter, vibes Twitter, mood Twitter, and got me like Twitter. Upside down Twitter is the worst. I don't know how to do it. Don't tell me. Don't tweet me upside down and tell me how to tweet upside down. I hate it. End it. That's it.
Well said. Part of the circus, and I think that's a perfect way to describe what's going on. What I'm seeing on Twitter, other than upside-down tweets, which are so annoying, wait Twitter. Wait Twitter is going crazy. Le'Veon Bell, so he was seen at an LA Fitness in Bridgeville, Pennsylvania, pickup game of basketball with some people. That, you know, there's photos of him on jet skis down in Miami, and there's like body shaming going on. He looks heavy.
Really?
Twitter,
that type of
Twitter,
weight.
Yes, Twitter is going crazy about the weight thing. And if you think back with Le'Veon Bell, it kind of was a thing in fact with his draft stock back when he was drafted. He played at a heavier weight his rookie year, then he had his breakout season the next year when he lost 20 pounds. Then he was averaging 3.6 yards a carry last year when he started a little bit slow. And now everyone's looking at that, and that's something that would carry weight, if you will, if they didn't have James Conner. What a credit to James Conner. Nobody, all of that's just circus material, junk. Nobody should be paying attention to really any of this because of what they have there, the guy you've been so high on, and a superstar on the field tonight.
Yeah, you know, I think for the most part, the Steelers are sitting back saying, whatever he's doing, it's kind of clownish. And I'm not calling Le'Veon a clown. I would never do that. But, you know, the circus isn't in the building. We wanted to say that it was in the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy out in Pittsburgh, and it's falling apart. I was having a conversation with my son yesterday. He's starting basketball, and I said, I need you to focus. You're 14 years old. You clowned around a little bit too much at practice last year. When you get on the court, I need you to act like a guy who wants to get better. I said, the guy who focuses on clowns ends up in a circus. And it's funny we're talking about a circus now because the Steelers are saying we're not the circus. We're not the ones with the red nose on our hands, or the red nose on our face saying honk honk. We're focused on winning a Super Bowl. And we have to give them the credit where credit's due. To your point, Shrakes, these guys are playing some good football. So let's focus on the guys in the building. And that's what it's about right now.
Both teams on winning streaks. Two of the league's brightest stars will clash in the Steel City tonight. Ken Bryant spent his first 8 seasons with the Cowboys, becoming their all-time leader in receiving touchdowns. Here's what Drew Brees had to say about the addition.
Listen, Dez has been a really good player in this league for a long time, and there is certainly a skill set that he has that is going to be beneficial, you know, and so I look forward to getting to work with him. I look forward to building a rapport with him. I look forward to getting him involved in this offense and just become a complement to, you know, all the guys that we already have. I think he'll see that too when he gets here, and I'm sure he's been watching from afar as just, you know, how he'll integrate into this offense, and I think he'll be a great addition. I mean, it's not like you just hand him the playbook and expect him to learn it overnight. You know, I mean, it's one of those things that's a process, I think, for any new guy coming in, especially a skill player. Just it's new verbiage. I don't know how much carryover there'll be from, what he had in Dallas. Probably not a lot, So I think that's a process, but you bring him along and you want to put him in positions to succeed, right? You want to take the stuff that he's really good at and then integrate him into the offense accordingly. So we'll have a plan for that as we go along.
It's okay, Drew. You can tell us you're excited. Check out this tweet from our very own James Slater. #brand Dez with his Throw Up the X t-shirts ready. And, of course, throw is spelled T-H-R-E-A-U-X.
I love it.
It's good. It's good. And it's fast already.
Well
really
done by him. Hey, Nate.
Hey, Kay.
What does Dez bring to the Saints offense?
He brings a little bit more attitude. We talked about this yesterday, and I think I followed up by saying I'm not sure if they need attitude because they beat up on the Rams, who were supposed to be the hottest team and the toughest team, and the Saints proved that they were even better. I feel like he brings immediate playmaking ability. You got to think about Amari Cooper and his immediate impact, Demaryius Thomas and his immediate impact. If you don't believe that Dez Bryant can come in after putting up 70-plus touchdowns as a Dallas Cowboy, being the #1 wide receiver his whole time there, teams focuses on stopping him every time he stepped on the field, that he can't come in for the first time in his life being a #2 receiver to Mike Thomas, who will demand attention. He has to be salivating at the mouth right now to step on the field, knowing that there's going to be a defense out there that has to focus on, one, Mike Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, Drew Brees, the Hall of Fame quarterback. Oh, and they got to worry about little old Dez throwing up the X.
Exactly right.
Dez is about to cook, and I promise you that.
Ooh.
As soon as he gets his hands on the playbook and he knows it like the back of his hands, he's going to get busy.
I think part of me is wondering if Dez played this perfectly. Like, Dez took a world tour this summer. He met with the Ravens. He went into Cleveland and actually sat in a barbershop chair and talked with Hugh Jackson. Cleveland right now is one of the worst teams in football. If Dez had signed with Cleveland, they would have already traded Josh Gordon. Dez would have been sitting there saying, oh my God, we fired the head coach, fired the offensive coordinator. What did I do?
Talk about it.
And I'm living in Cleveland. Irrelevance. He waited. He might not get as much money from the Saints. I don't know what the financials are exactly, but it probably was less than what the Ravens and the Browns did. He got to rest. He's got fresh legs. Let's assume he's in good shape. This is the best way it could possibly go for him. He's now in there with a former Cowboys coach, an offensive coordinator in Sean Payton, with a guy that Jerry Jones has courted in the past as a friend and an ally in Sean Payton, and also in the American South in New Orleans, where Dez is going to be a huge star with one of the most fun teams in the league. I think Dez played his hand perfectly. I don't care if he has 1 catch this weekend or if he has 15 catches this weekend. I just think Dez Bryant landed in the right place for him personally.
I think the Saints played it perfectly. There's 2 concerns you have. If you're a Saints fan, 2 concerns. One, Dez doesn't have it anymore. And at this point in his career, and a lot of people think Dez Bryant is no good for more than maybe 3 or 4 catches. Great. That's all you need. The Cowboys needed Dez to be a game changer. The Saints need him to be Chris Hogan. Maybe Mohamed Sanu on the high end. The other concern, he's going to burn the locker room down. He's volatile. He's combustible. First of all, I think a lot of that brewed over years and years in Dallas. I don't think he has that. And if he does that, cut him.
Yeah.
Bye. Who cares? We'll go on and win a Super Bowl.
They cut
anyway.
Adrian Peterson.
Cut him. That's it. They cut Peterson, cut Dez. They have total outs on all this stuff. I think I love it.
It's good that he's going to a team that's winning, that doesn't necessarily need him, and that has a veteran quarterback that can sort of be a great presence in the locker room. I thought about this a lot. I don't know that I wanted it because I just think they're clicking. They're on a winning streak. They're fine. They don't need him. But then you did, like maybe the most staggering statistic I've seen lately is that outside of Michael Thomas, no wide receiver, and I mentioned this earlier this week, no wide receiver has more than 12 catches on the season.
Yeah. It's Ginn who's out.
That is insane. Ginn is out. They try to bring in Cam Meredith and make it happen. To have that #2 opposite Michael Thomas, like, Nate, you've got me sold. It'll be a good thing and he'll eat.
And just think about this. Here's a what if, and we'll go to commercial break. What if they continue to play well, Dez plays at a high level, they win a Super Bowl, Dez get a ring. Changes his legacy completely.
Super Bowl ring.
Changes our perception of what we think about.
Can I give one more? There's a guy on Twitter, Sanfilty. He sent me a tweet that said, Breeze to Bryant, we got a nickname, Airbnb.
Airbnb, baby!
Let's throw up the X in NOLA. Love that. Coming up on the show, let's talk about other superstars across the league, including...
Report says Darnold will miss this week's game against Buffalo with a strained foot. The rookie quarterback sat out of Wednesday's practice and is currently in a walking boot. Jets coach Todd Bowles clarified that the team will monitor Darnold throughout the week before making a determination on Sunday. Elsewhere, running back Leonard Fournette was back at practice Wednesday for the Jaguars. Fournette has not played since week 4 with a hamstring injury, and he hasn't finished a game all season. Jacksonville has lost 4 straight. And while Fournette is back, Jags corner A.J. Boye apparently won't be playing this week against the Colts, and that's if you ask him. If you ask head coach Doug Marrone, the situation is far less clear. The Pro Bowler missed Jacksonville's game against the Eagles 2 weeks ago due to a calf injury that also kept him out of practice on Wednesday. Bad news for a defense that's allowed 20 or more points in 5 games. It's also news that caught the Jags head coach off guard.
This news to me. I guess I'll have to talk to him about that. That's not what the trainer told me, but...
What's your confidence level in...
But I just want to make sure you're on... So he did say he's out?
Yeah.
He did say that. Okay, we'll take care of that. That's not been told by me by the trainer. So that's the truth.
It's all about communication, Kay. You got to have your coach and your players on the same wavelength, same page.
That's fair and expected and sort of wild. Thank you so much, Steve Weissman. Thanks for hanging out with us bright and early from the West Coast. We'll talk to you a little bit later because we are all about the Panthers and the Steelers tonight, but also looking ahead to Sunday. It's the Patriots heading to Nashville to take on a few or a lot of familiar faces. For more on this matchup between the Pats and the Titans, here's Mike Giardi.
Okay, what could have been for Malcolm Butler, a very twisted and complicated legacy here in New England. Of course, 2014, he saves the Super Bowl in his rookie season with an interception at the goal line against Seattle, part of another Super Bowl winning team in 2016, but then inexplicably benched for the Super Bowl last year against Philadelphia, and we still don't really have the answers. He walked away in free agency, $24 million guaranteed by the Tennessee Titans, who right now probably regret the investment a little bit. He has struggled mightily in Tennessee. He's allowed 7 touchdowns. That's tied for most of any cornerback in the league. Bill Belichick wouldn't mention his name once at the press conference on Wednesday. Butler was asked about the situation and playing the Patriots again, and he said, "It's just another game. Got to go out and get ready and play my best football, Kay." He's had a hard time doing that this season.
Good stuff from Giardi, as always. Jens, which former Patriots player, if there was one, obviously Bill Belichick, gets a lot of sleep at night. He's not losing sleep over anybody really in the NFL with his track record. Let's say he did lose some sleep at night over one of these Titans. Who would it be?
The way you say that, I can't stop thinking about Belichick sleeping at night. I picture him in like Dickensian pajamas with like a
Does he have a
nightcap.
hat? No, with a little ball on the end.
Yeah, exactly. And then like a candlestick. Half moon glasses.
Footy pajamas.
Right, one of those hatches in the back of the pajama. But the person that he's up, when I can't sleep, it's not because I have anxiety. It's because I'm so excited. I can't get because I'm so excited. And I think Belichick is so excited to face Malcolm Butler. I think that's the guy, because this is deep. This is 3 layers deep. This was looked upon as maybe a slight against Bill Belichick, benching him. Would they have won that game if Malcolm Butler was out there? And Belichick's probably pointing at the Titans tape this week. You really think I didn't know what I was doing? Do you think maybe I'm a master of this game and I knew that maybe Malcolm didn't have it? Because Malcolm's had a tough year. We've talked about it. He had a terrible week last week. So I think he proved that point even more. I think he is so excited to go at him, whether it's Josh Gordon, whoever it be, Edelman, and see like proof positive. Don't ever question me again. I'm going to torch this dude.
I don't think he's losing sleep either, but I do think there is something interesting about Mike Vrabel going up against Belichick. We've seen a lot of Belichick proteges coach against Belichick, but never Belichick players. This is the first one that a former Belichick player is coaching against him. So he's been in the locker room. He's been giving those speeches, and it's not one of those where you're in the coach's room. It's actually a guy in the locker room.
Yeah.
If I'm Vrabel, I'm thinking about, okay, who's had success against this guy who knows him pretty well? Patricia won earlier this year, but I think of the man who's right next to Bill Belichick. I think of Josh McDaniels, and I think of the time that Josh McDaniels played Bill Belichick in a game when they were both coaches, and this is how McDaniels reacted. He came out as a Denver Broncos coach and was celebrating on that field as if he had just conquered Rome. If I'm Vrabel, I am not, look at this, getting lifted by the players, the whole thing. If I'm Vrabel, I'm not just going to have the respectful, I really love Bill Belichick and he taught me everything. I want to go there and I want to stomp on him and say, you know what, coach, you taught me some things, but I can have an even better day than you. If I'm Vrabel, I'm motivated. And if I'm Belichick, I'm thinking it's a little different wrinkle than just one of my old coaches that I taught. This is a player that I groomed and saw succeed.
You're right about that. You know, going back to what you said, Kyle, I picture him in the same type of pajamas, but with the little back flap out, because the rest of the league's been looking at his rear end this whole time. Because he's been...
You got him in the outhouse.
That's exactly what it is. Here's the thing about Bill Belichick. You asked the question, who is he losing sleep over? I say no one. Bill Belichick is the ultimate genius for every individual, whether it's a former player, all these former coaches that fall underneath his umbrella. They walk away with the recipe on how to cook. The person who gave them the ingredients is Chef Belichick. So when he faces these guys, he knows exactly what's on their menu. The only difference is he has a new menu. He has a new twist on the same old delights that he's been serving up across the league for years. So for me, it's not about that. It's about who he sees in the mirror every single week. It's, do I try to outsmart myself? Because he's going to outsmart the coach. He's going to outsmart most of these defenses. I don't see there being any player, any coach that can pump fear into this man. Absolute legend. And he has nerves of steel. We keep talking about Mamba and people walking around saying they got ice in their veins. Bill Belichick, he's born with that, man. He's been living that since he got in the league.
I just feel like there's a sentiment around Bill Belichick, who we all credit, like justifiably so, of when guys, him knowing when to cut ties. It's not like what he's known for. When to let go of a guy, when to not resign a guy, when to trade a guy. So, I'll make my point a little bit later, guys. We gotta go right now. Hashtag GMFB.
Somebody else knows when to cut the segment.
No. I think Deion Lewis is going to keep him up at night, because you look at guys like Malcolm Butler who are struggling, like you mentioned, or even guys like Nate Solder with the Giants, or Danny Amendola, or Shane Vereen, or Ridley. All of these guys, he leaves them at the right time, except Deion Lewis, because Deion Lewis is the one on the field who's the most versatile player, I think, on that team, and the one who's crushed it the last 2 weeks with multiple touchdowns, averaging over 135 yards a game the past 2 weeks. So he's the one guy that can sort of stand and be like, I'm not, the guy that cut that you should have resigned me. I should have been there. And they're also allowing a lot of points to running back. So play Deion Lewis in that matchup on Sunday. We'll be back right here on Good Morning Football, lower East Coast in Pittsburgh, between the Steelers and the Carolina Panthers. A lot of superstars on that field tonight.
So many. It's awesome. You think about the quarterbacks, obviously, but the receivers, and then you also have defensive stars. This is a defensive star loaded game, and yet the offensive guys are going to take the top billing.
And yet Lev is kicking off our show in the morning, because of course it's kind of take the shine away from what's going on.
See what you did there?
Later on NFL Network at 8 p.m. But it is time right now for Who Needs to Fuel Your Hustle. It's presented by Oikos 000. We're breaking down players who need to step it up in Week 10. Games on the line. Nate, what do you got?
I'm going with Todd Gurley.
Weird. Why?
I'm going with Todd Gurley. I know you're thinking, Nate, what are you talking about? Todd Gurley, he has 102 total points, which is more than the Buffalo Bills at 96.
You enough?
Right?
He hasn't given you enough.
I need more. Here's why I need more, because they took that L this past weekend, right? He had 79 total yards in a TD, but they had the loss. I want to go back to 2012, where I was playing with Calvin Johnson. We were playing the Vikings. He had 5 for 54, and we held that L. We came in that next week, and I remember Sean Jefferson, was a former player, looked at Calvin Johnson while we're in the wide receiver meeting. He said, Calvin, I need you to do more. If you got to get 100, 150, you got to go for 300. We need you to carry this team. And I remember thinking to myself, man, it's a lot of pressure. Yeah. But I looked at Calvin, didn't blink, didn't waver. All he did was nod his head. Said, okay, coach. Next week he goes put up almost $140. We win the game versus the Eagles. So I say that to say this. Todd Gurley, you're the man. Like, you're the guy on this team. You can't have an 80-yard game in a TD and you guys hold that L. You're that good, where if they got to give you the ball a ton and you got to put up 200 yards to win the game, yeah. And am I asking for a lot? Being that I feel like you're the best player in football? Of course.
You're holding a different standard.
But you are that guy. So, yeah, he's going to have to fuel his hustle.
I love that. I'm going to go with Andrew Luck here. I feel like lately we haven't talked about him a lot. In general, the Colts are sort of flying under the radar. You talked about Darius Leonard being like a standout on the defense. But I feel like Clark Kent, we talk about Cam being Superman. He's like as if Clark Kent changed into a Superman costume in the middle of the street and nobody was noticing. Like, he's not even going into the phone book. He's doing it in broad daylight for all of us to see, and nobody is talking about it. He is second to only Patrick Mahomes, guys. He has 23 touchdowns on the year. We're talking about the Saints adding Des Bryant. It's T.Y. Hilton and guys like Chester Rogers and Mo Alley Cox that are catching touchdowns from Andrew Luck this year. They've won back-to-back games now. I think if they beat the Jags, and they might because A.J. Boye is out for this one, that's huge for them. I know the Texans are looking good, but I'm sneakily scared, not if I'm a Texans fan, but happy if I'm a Colts fan. They could steal the division.
He's been amazing, Kay. Exceeded expectations. Quentin Nelson, the offensive guard, the 6th overall pick, was voted AFC Offensive Rookie of the Month last month as an offensive guard.
Yeah.
So
the tape's got to be great.
That means that there's...
That's wild.
That's wild. And Andrew Luck might be the best quarterback in that conference, not named Mahomes or Brady right now.
I need him to fuel his hustle and say, listen, Michael Thomas, there's only room for one flip phone in this town. And it's mine.
It's mine.
We got to talk about him more, but he's got to make us do that against the Jags.
You like that one? I'm going to go with...
Crazy.
For me, fuel my hustle. All right, look, when you beat the Jets and the Bills, it's fine. We can have a parade for you if you want. But Mitchell Trubisky's about to enter the stretch of the season where we'll see what he's all about as a quarterback. Trubisky plays the Lions. And yes, the Bears are favored and they're home. They should beat the Lions. But Mitchell Trubisky is not a good quarterback when he plays against teams in his division. And that's really all that you're measured by in the NFL. Look at his career here. 0-2 versus the Lions. 0-2 versus the Packers. 0-2 versus the Vikings. It's great to beat the Bills and Jets. And honestly, here's an attaboy. I'll give it to you.
Okay.
That means nothing. Now is the stretch of the schedule. Look who they've got coming up in the next few weeks. You've got Detroit, who you have not beaten before. You've got Minnesota in week 11. Detroit again in week 12. Then you end the season with Packers in 15 and obviously at Minnesota in 17. The Bears have been a really cool first half of the season story. Trubisky's done some really neat runs. It's time to show us what you're made of, number 2 overall pick. Let's see what you've got. Because when you get in those division games in the cold weather and you're doing it when the opposing teams know your opposing coaches and they know the game plan you're coming in, that's when you're measured as a man. That's when you're measured as a quarterback. So Mitchell Trubisky, cool season so far. You're right in the middle of the pack like we thought you would be. Now it's when you elevate your game. Now it's when you take on these quarterbacks in your division. Now it's when you start making Bears fans believe you're the guy.
You need more, right? You're saying cool season and neat runs.
Cool season, bro.
Neat runs.
Neat runs. Neat run against the Patriots in a loss.
That's right. All right, Peter, that's good. You want to talk about neat runs? I got something exciting.
That just scared me.
Me too.
Bears fan.
That's
way to go, Shrigs.
Cool season, bro.
This is exciting because I'm looking at Eagles-Cowboys Sunday night. Big game, all right? And the Eagles running game has been this thing where, Ajayi gets hurt and they didn't make the big move at the trade deadline. They're just going to go with what they got. Well, I'm going to give this to you blind. Doug Peterson was asked about a certain player on his roster and the potential that player might get carries at running back. Here's what he said.
That's a good question. I don't know. He's definitely used to carrying a larger football. They call it a football? I don't know what they call it, the ball. Very athletic guy. It's intriguing. I mean, it's not out of the question.
All right. He says, not out of the question. I'm into it. We saw the name. Now let's see what it would look like if Jordan Mailata, the rookie tackle, got carries at running back. If only there was a way to magically whisk this away to see what it looks like. Oh my goodness, is that Jeff Heath trying to tackle him? Is that Leighton Vander Esch? We have not run this clip in a long time. Guys, Jordan Mailata can't get on the field. Even with Lane Johnson getting banged up, you thought maybe he'd make his debut. Can you think of anything better than on Sunday night at Lincoln Financial Field against the Dallas Cowboys? Just give me one. All I need is one carry. It can be a fullback dive because all you would need is one. You tell me he's going to get tackled? No. Give him the ball. He is Juggernaut in Deadpool 2, ripping people in half. Come on, Coach Peterson.
If he was on the Saints, I feel like Sean Payton would have him get 40 carries already this year.
That's shade, Doug Peterson. Peter just said 20 passes. I think Nagy would have done it. I know McVay would have done it.
I don't know. The Philly special was cool.
Old news.
Old news.
Old news. And if you don't play him, it's fake news. I want Mailata right here just running over 11 people and going on the sideline running over 42 more.
That's like Wendell Smallwood, but let's get real. It's Jordan Mailata.
I want the big wood.
The only thing better, relax. The only thing better than that footage is the idea of the 4 of us going to the Pro Bowl. Guys, we should go to the Pro Bowl. Listen to what's going on. Not in Hawaii. It's in Orlando. Stop. It's in Orlando. Orlando.
Love Orlando.
But it's not even just the game, guys. It's the incredible Pro Bowl week. If we get tickets, your ticket also gets you special access to AFC and NFC seating sections. You can go to a red carpet viewing with all the players just stroll. Can you imagine all the superstars on that red carpet?
It's a luau. I love it.
Fireworks and more. NFL.com/Pro Bowl on sale for tickets starting as low as $45, gentlemen. We could go for less on network right here at 8 p.m. Eastern. A matchup on Sunday, though, we must discuss is the Cowboys and the Eagles. We like divisional battles, and this has a lot at stake as well. NFC East showdown coming up. Of course, Dallas needing to bounce back really quickly from a brutal Monday night loss following a bye against the Titans. Let's send it over to Jane Slater with how they're going to approach this game.
Thanks, Kay. Well, the Cowboys are currently 3-5 right now as they get themselves ready to head on the road and have that rivalry game against the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday. Now, believe it or not, this locker room is surprisingly optimistic. I caught up with running back Ezekiel Elliott in the locker room on Wednesday, and he says they've adopted the mentality right now that it's us against the world. He says that they know they've got to win as many games as possible if they want a shot at the playoffs. Now, when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, they are 4-4 right now, coming off a bye, and it looks like they're getting their running back Darren Sproles back. This is not exactly the best news. nor is the fact that they feature the number 2 ranked run defense. The Cowboys are a run-first offense, but they struggled with that as of late. Elliott says they've got to start fast. They've got to get the run game going. In 3 of his last 4 games, Elliott has been held to 61 yards or fewer. Now to Mike Garafolo.
Thank you, Jane. Here in Philly, the Eagles are coming off a bye week. They love that it came right in the middle of their season. They get a chance to get a breather, maybe heal up some injuries. Carson Wentz shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. He spent his bye week hunting in North Dakota, shot some ducks along with Mike Trout, the Angels outfielder, and Eagles fan from nearby Millville, New Jersey. Wentz, he had that busy offseason on account of the fact that he was rehabbing. He also got married during the offseason. So when I asked him about getting this break, he said, yeah, it was good to get away and recharge himself mentally and physically. So maybe he'll play even better. Has been playing pretty well, and he's hopeful that he will find a connection immediately with wide receiver Golden Tate. Those two practiced for the first time a little more than a week after the Eagles acquired Tate. Now, Tate's been in the facility trying to learn the terminology as quickly as possible, but there's nothing like getting those reps. The Eagles are hopeful that those reps leading up to Sunday will lead to that immediate chemistry. Back to Kay and the gang in New York.
It's called you guys a gang.
All right, cool.
Gang, gang.
I love it. Mike and Jane, appreciate you guys. What, Kyle, are you looking for in this huge matchup? Let's be real.
I just love looking at the stakes of this game. You see 3 and 5 and 4 and 4, you don't think much. This is everything. You know, for the Philadelphia Eagles, I know a lot of Eagles fans. I know the friends of my guys at 4th and John. It's the Redskins, Giants are down here. They hate the Cowboys. You can end the Cowboys season on this game. You could probably also end the Cowboys era. I mean, you blow out the Cowboys, you're talking about a new coach, a new quarterback, all that stuff. And on the flip side of it, the Dallas Cowboys, this is a playoff game. You go in and beat Philly in Philly on national television. You're 7A the next day for us. The Cowboys survived. They did all this. I do want to see from the world champs. There's an identity thing. Are they up with the Rams and the Panthers in the NFC, or are they in that Falcons-Seahawks class? No shame in that. I just want to know where they stand. I think we'll find out Sunday.
It's interesting with Jason Garrett because, you know, he's had some playoff victories. I think the Dez catch in Green Bay was a loss that you wouldn't pin to him, and then Aaron Rodgers hitting Jared Cook in that divisional round a couple years ago, you wouldn't pin to Jason Garrett. But to me, I'm wondering, is this the biggest game Jason Garrett has ever coached as a head coach?
Talk about it.
I mean, is that too dramatic to say in week 10 of an NFL game? But on a short week, on the road, in the defending champions building, your arch rivals on national TV with Al and Chris and Michelle Tafoya on the field. Like, this is it. If not now, when? Jason Garrett, I'm not saying he's playing for his life here as a coach, but I will say this. He's playing for a lot.
Yeah.
And he's coaching for a lot. Jason Garrett, if you can get this win, things change. If you get this loss, it's not going to be just Troy Aikman taking shots on
things
Monday.
Could change for the worse. Yeah. It could change either way, right?
Yeah.
That's looking good. You guys are okay with this uniform that Golden Tate's wearing? Can we run that back, please? And then he's got the 3rd on the back.
Yeah, I'm rubbing my eyes. Tate the 3rd, green, new number, new helmet.
T3.
I like it, but I liked him in Honolulu Blue too. And I liked him a lot this season, guys. He was having a career year, the most catches per game, the 2nd most yards per game in his career that he's ever had. And I feel like he is one of the league's best slot receivers, right? So I'm looking at what his impact is, how he fits into this offense. There's a lot of other wide receivers. There's 2 good tight ends there. We've talked a lot, I have, about this Cowboys defense and how good it was. It's been top 5 pretty much all season. It's top 3 going into week 10. And they've only allowed, Kyle, 200-yard wide receivers. One of them's DeAndre Hopkins. Guess who the other one is?
Tell me.
Golden Tate.
Oh, I love it.
Golden Tate, yes.
Touchdowns.
He faced them, had a pair of touchdowns as well. It's sort of interesting to note that Golden Tate will be taking on the Cowboys 3 times this season.
That's crazy.
Given that midseason trade. And he's faced them before and had success. Does it translate to the Super Bowl defending champs now in a new uni, in a new environment?
Yeah, I loved them in the Honolulu Blue. Don't forget about Championship Tate, who's in the Seattle Blue.
That's right.
So he does have a Super Bowl
T3.
ring. I'm going with Alshon Jeffrey. Now, I'm looking at Alshon Jeffrey. What we know as guys is when you go out, it's all about your wingman. And he's been a wingman early in his career to Brandon Marshall. Then Brandon Marshall gets shipped out, and then he has Kevin White as his wingman. That doesn't work out. Then he goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, and he has Aguilar. Torrey Smith going to be scoring all night long. So Alshon Jeffrey, who came back in week 4, has 4 touchdowns in the last 5 games. Just expect him to touch that paint a lot more because teams got to focus on another wideout.
Yeah.
Golden Tate is going to open up things up for him.
I love that. Perfectly in tandem. Did you say you scored 6 and then wink at the
No, 6 is the touchdown. 6 points for I used to play the game back in the day. All that. Yeah, exactly. The underappreciated of this whole thing is Golden Tate has a grandfather named Golden Tate.
In Los Angeles, the limited story is the Dolphins quarterback Ryan Tannehill is listed as out this week. The full story is the team was fined for listing him as a full participant in practice when he was actually limited last month. NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport says the Dolphins have been fined $30,000 and head coach Adam Gase $15,000 for violating the NFL injury report policy in advance of the club's October 14th game against Chicago. Gase says Tannehill could return to the field in Week 12 following the Dolphins' bye week. Well, good news for Falcons linebacker Deion Jones. He was back on the practice field Wednesday. He's eligible to return to the roster in Week 11. Jones tested the condition of his injured foot last week, but never formally took part in a practice before the team's win over Washington. Elsewhere, Bears outside linebacker Khalil Mack had a full practice on Wednesday. That is a good sign for his availability on Sunday against Detroit. Mack sprained his right ankle against the Dolphins and has been inactive the past 2 games. Before that, he had never missed a game in his career. And get this, the Cardinals paying a visit to Luke Air Force Base in Arizona. They got a pretty cool tour of some military equipment, including an F-35 flight simulator. The visit, all part of the league's ongoing Salute to Service initiative. I did my hashtag Salute to Service, $5, as we send it back to Nate. Way to play, my man.
We appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. And way to report the news, man. Love working with you. We'll talk to you a little bit later. Now it's time once again to announce the NFL Way to Play recipient of the week. The NFL has created the Way to Play initiative in order to promote the correct playing technique in games each week. A panel of NFL legends will select a player who exemplifies proper technique in every game. Now, that panel includes, check this out, Hall of Famers Orlando Pace, Ronnie Lott, who was an absolute monster, former NFL running back Merrill Hodge, former Colts head coach Chuck Pagano. What up, Chuck? And finally, NFL Network's own Willie McGinnis. The winner receives a personal letter from the commish, which we would all love, and a $2,500 donation in the player's name to a high school or youth program of his choice. Now, let's get right to it. The NFL Way to Play recipient for Week 9 is Texan safety Kareem Jackson.
Congratulations, Kareem.
Mr. Hunt, Kareem Hunt is the only Kareem out here balling. Check this out. Watch out, Kareem Jackson Kareem's Philip Lindsay. Now, here's a big hit that most people would think a flag is going to be thrown, but check it out. Philip Lindsay goes out there on a little banana route. Kareem Jackson comes up, sticks his shoulder right into the chest/shoulder of Philip Lindsay, knocks the ball out, knocks the player down. Now, this is an old school big time hit. You put a little bit with your shoulder, you extend a little bit with your arm. You don't put that forearm in the helmet or the neck of the player, and you don't put your helmet in the helmet and neck of Philip Lindsay. You can get a big-time old-school hit just like this without a flag being thrown. That's perfect because oftentimes these defenders are saying, you know what, I can't hit the guy. I don't know how to get the ball out. We can't get those big bang plays like we used to. That's a perfect example of how to do it. He read the play, saw the ball being delivered, saw Philip Lindsay, put that shoulder right in the middle of the chest of the offensive player, knocks him in the ball out. Great play. Kareem Jackson, I see you, man. That's the way to play.
And they're making these plays and they're making a difference in their communities because they get $2,500 to a youth football program or just a football program, any program really of their choice. So Kareem Jackson, congratulations. And I cannot wait to find out who the NFL Way to Play recipient is for Week 10. You, by the way.
Amazing. Pretty awesome.
Not to brag.
Not too shabby.
Not to brag.
We got a great game tonight, not to brag. I think we've earned it, right? Let's be real.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Raiders, Niners, 2 one-win teams of the Thursday night game didn't exactly
Don't take away from Mullins.
Mullins had an awesome performance.
It's Movember.
The week before that, we've seen some games that maybe weren't. This is the game of the week. Like, this one feels awesome. Panthers versus Steelers. I can't wait.
Hours away. Keep it here on NFL Network all day long for everything you need ahead of that game, especially with the latest on Le'Veon Bell, which we'll talk about as well. Hashtag GMFB. Time for the lead block. Guys, that was the weirdest thing ever. Aditi, welcome to the show. You've been all over the Steelers all week long, and this team certainly won't be overlooking Cam Newton tonight. How is Pittsburgh's defense planning to slow him down a little bit?
Okay, Steelers defensive coordinator Keith Butler was asked about this Panthers offense that's so efficient in the red zone, that's been so effective, and that has really driven this Panthers 3-game win streak. And Butler said, it's the quarterback that's the problem. In fact, he called Newton a problem about 4 times the other day. And he said the real issue is not only how big he is, it's not that he runs like a true elite running back, that he runs and design plays. He said that Cam Newton is really taking advantage of Norv Turner's offense and every single weapon that he has outside. Now, what's notable here is that he also has put in some of his own time this summer. He worked with Antonio Brown this summer. Panthers head coach Ron Rivera talked about that and said he really appreciates when he has players who want to work with other elite players. Newton talked about that a bit this week. He said that Antonio Brown works harder than just about anybody he's been with, that Brown often made him work out 3 times a day. He said it certainly made him better and tougher, but the Steelers do maybe have one thing going for them, and that is that Newton hasn't been particularly good in primetime. Okay, in his last 10 games, he's just 5-5, thrown 16 touchdowns to 12 interceptions when he's under the lights.
And Big Ben plays very well right behind you at Heinz Field. We'll see what happens. You keep Antonio Brown, Big Ben, Christian McCaffrey, Cam Newton, Greg Olsen, Luke Kuechly, stars on stars that'll burn bright under the bright lights in the Steel City. Thanks, Aditi. We'll talk to you in a little bit and throughout the show. Matchup, it's one thing to watch. Triggs, what do you got?
We've been celebrating Cam Newton's 2018 season, but I don't think the nation as a whole has any idea what's going on. It's a fascinating thing that we are now entering Week 10, and the Panthers have not been on primetime television yet. They have not had that primetime game. They haven't played it on Thursday night, or they've played it on a Sunday night, they haven't played it on a Monday night. So the audience as a whole might not know what Cam is doing. And yet Cam on Thursday night is not a great quarterback. This is his career since 2011. 2-4? Do you know Drew Stanton has as many Thursday night wins as Cam Newton does in his career?
Love Drew Stanton.
Completion percentage is hovering around the 50% mark, only 206 yards per game.
Yeah.
And the last time he played on a Thursday night, he did really not do anything because he had 3 interceptions and his passer rating was in the 40s against the Eagles last season in Week 6. So I look at Cam Newton and I say the country as a whole is probably hearing it on our show, and maybe ESPN or Fox is talking about it a little bit in the pregame, but they don't know just how good he's been. And this is an opportunity for Cam to change the script on Thursday nights and say, you know what, I am that big-time quarterback. I'm going to go into Pittsburgh, and I'm going to put on a performance that is symbolic of my entire 2018 season. Because whereas last year he started out slow out of the gates, the shoulder was an issue, the offensive line was a mess. This year, Cam Newton's been really good, really solid, really savvy. He's been a smart, wonderful quarterback, and I don't think the country knows just yet. First primetime game for Cam Newton, and he's trying to reverse a curse on Thursday night, something that's been haunting him his entire career.
I love when you call things wonderful. So wonderful quarterback.
The last time the Americans saw Cam, he was in the Superdome getting sacked by Cam Jordan, right?
Absolutely right.
A long time, man.
Absolutely right.
It's come a long way. It looks great.
All right. For me, I'm trying to break down this offense, and I'm trying to figure out the best way I can. Last night, I fell asleep watching CSI, and, it's all about investigating the crime scene. And for me, I was looking at this offense, trying to investigate it, figure out what makes it special. Of course, it starts with Cam, right? The former MVP. Greg Olsen, dominant in the red zone. Christian McCaffrey, an absolute beast. Like, that's the trio, right? That's kind of where it stops. No, but upon further investigation, the Cam squad investigation, CSI, it's Curtis Samuel.
Oh, boy.
So I'm looking at him and what they're doing within that offense. They lead the NFL with wide receivers rushing the ball, as we're seeing right here, with 193 yards. So their creativity, before they even get in the passing game, is as creative as any offense in the business. Curtis Samuel coming off Week 9 where he had his first career multi-TD game. It's hard enough to get in the end zone once. To do it twice in such a way that he did it, where he was a rusher and also a wide receiver, it shows exactly what he told us when he came on the show and we said, what are you? Are you a wide? Are you a running back? What are you? He said, no, I'm a baller. And we labeled him the Brooklyn Baller. So thinking CSI, I feel like that should be his new nickname from now on. It's Curtis Samuel's intangibles, because that's what makes him special. I know we're kind of used to guys being athletic and doing a little bit of everything, but this isn't normal. And what he's built for is perfect for this offense. So he could be that ultimate X factor in this game where C-Mac is doing his thing. Cam, of course, is balling out. Greg Olsen gets a touchdown in the red zone. Curtis Samuel could riddle off 2 touchdowns and change the complexion of this entire game. So I'm looking at Curtis Samuel, man, the new nickname, CSI.
CSI. And what a plug that Nate fell asleep during the show. It's incredible. Who hasn't, though?
Sorry, Caruso.
Caruso. Oh, get fooled again. I'm going to give a quick power ranking. My favorite type of individual matchup in the game of football. You got left tackle versus pass rusher.
Okay.
In the two-hole, you got corner versus wide receiver, which gets most of the love. But my number one, I love middle linebacker versus running back because it is old-fashioned and there's more action there and there's more impact. We are going to see a good one. James Conner versus Luke Kuechly. Might as well be Jerome Bettis versus Dan Morgan. Old school like this. James Conner's coming in 4 straight 100-yard games. If you ask, has he faced a middle linebacker like Kuechly this year? He's faced C.J. Mosley twice. Got bottled up the first time. They got off a little bit last week. Kuechly has to have a big game in this. Just watch. These two are going to be meeting A gap, B gap, C gap, you name it. Let me get on my soapbox for a second. If you're one of these people who says, the NFL is soft, and it's gone soft, and why don't you might as well put flags on them? Let me assure you that there is a massive amount of physicality and impact in this sport, and if you are saying there's no tackling, there's no hitting, you are just a lemming, mindlessly retweeting subjective sky is falling tweets. Watch this game, because it's going to be, boom, Conner, Kuechly all night. It is what made me love this game as a kid, and we get it in this one.
Love it.
Some of the best to do it right now. I love that sell on them, and I love that you're talking a little bit about the Panthers' defense, because that's, I think, what's it's going to come down to tonight. It's impossible to stop the passing attack of the Steelers, right? There's too many options. It's Antonio Brown, it's Juju. Big plays will be had.
No question.
But to me, it'll come down to turning the ball over, which the Panthers have been doing like clockwork. They have 13 turnovers on this 5-1 stretch that they're on. Our friend of the show now, Mike Adams, has 3. Dante Jackson, the Rookster that D'Angelo Hall was gloating and glowing about, he is tied for the league leading interceptions with 4. Reed's doing his thing. So to me, they can sort of be in control of this game by controlling the turnovers. The only weird thing is, out of, let's say, 13 takeaways that I just mentioned, they've only scored on 2 of them. So I would love to see somebody pick it off. Dante Jackson, I'm looking at you, and take it to the house. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay. Well, Dante Jackson action. I like that.
I'm calling a defensive touchdown because in 13 turnovers to only have 2 go to the house.
You got to have one. Get to the sideline.
Trend.
Get to the sideline, you'll score.
If they're trending with turnovers,
here's a question. Do they mention Le'Veon Bell on this broadcast?
Yeah.
Of course they do.
They do?
You don't think so?
I don't know. I find it fascinating that he's the lead story in every news outlet this morning, and the guy hasn't played a game, and this is a premier, big-time game for the Steelers. I wonder if he comes into the broadcast at all, and that becomes a story, or if they're just going to focus on the field.
You tell me. So you work on the sidelines.
Yeah.
You know all of that. Is that a conversation that's had in the meeting? Like,
probably.
Are we going to stay away from this, or are we going to
They're probably going to address it, and I wonder if that pisses Steelers fans off, because the reaction that we've gotten here on our show for all the Le'Veon Bell talk this week has been from Steelers fans saying, he's not there. Stop talking about him.
The players are talking like that too now. I don't care.
So
who cares? It's a cloud.
He's going to get booed when he comes
Listen,
back, right?
man, people.
I don't know if he gets booed, but
I would think you would.
Fans are so dramatic.
Steelers fans are different. It's a great question. Then we should do a whole segment on will the Steelers fans boo him?
I think they'll boo him.
But Steelers fans they know good players, and they're I don't know.
Look at how,
actually
based on how they're reacting on Twitter, like Peter's saying, I would think that they would boo him.
They're going to boo a man that's going to help them win a Super Bowl.
I'm not saying they should.
No, I don't think they will. But why would they boo a guy that can help them get to a Super Bowl?
Conner starts the game. He has a few carries, first down, second down. On third down, he trots off the field, and Le'Veon Bell trots in. Is it standing ovation? Is it Bronx cheer? Is it actual booing? I don't have an answer.
Fascinating.
We'd have to ask Steelers.
What do you guys think, Steeler fans out there, fans of the other teams that have been along with us on this epic Le'Veon Bell ride? Not whether they should, but whether they will. Hashtag GMFB.
Yeah, they will.
There's a difference. What does the addition, gentlemen, of the Explo...
Appreciated what the organization and what its fans really stood for, you know.
Nice.
A lot of fair weather people from across the country that just kind of fell in love because they're winners instead of having any type of emotional connection to the team whatsoever.
I just don't think a lot of the players, especially me, like the franchise. Strong words from Kelsey saying all of that, guys. Any reaction to the comments here at the breakfast table?
Yeah, I'd like to hear the Cowboys fans say something for themselves. You know, Kelsey, he hit at a couple different levels. The player level, he went back in time about, you know, the scab players and all that. A lot of deep tissue there for him. Me personally, this week, I took some shots at the Cowboys and said, you're not America's team. You haven't been in 20, 30 years. My parents think you're America's team, all that. And what's interesting when you say that is what the Cowboys fans tweet back to you. And it was a lot of you're not wrong. And it was a lot of, I'll be honest with you, I would look at losing these next several games as an investment in the future. Like they're at that point where they're just spent, absolutely spent. So I want to hear something from them because they're going into Philadelphia, and I can think of one person better other than Kelsey that could lead the Eagles out onto the field in the face of Dallas. It's the same guy who did it at the draft. Let's roll it. Hey, Dallas!
Tonight, I'm representing the Philadelphia Eagles, NFC East champs, divisional champs, NFC champs, and world champs! The world champs! Hey, Dallas, the last time you were in the Super Bowl, these draft picks weren't born!
Place cracking and all that.
David Akers, amazing. Right after it, we have Drew Pearson come on our show to say, hey, Drew, what'd you think of the kicker going up there and responding to you? He goes, wide right. Yeah. We're like, yeah! So go get him, Dallas. Now, forever hold your peace. This is your season.
Kelsey did something. He struck a chord with me on this one because he took a shot at the fan base. It's one thing to say, I hate the franchise, or what Lane Johnson earlier said, I just think that the Patriot Way is a fear-based organization. Taking shots at the organization or the franchise, that's what... When you come at the fans and you're like, they're not real fans, they're not like our fans, that's striking a different chord. That is really, really below the belt. And that's the kind of stuff, if you're a fan watching at home, like, man, I hate the Eagles on the field. I really hate the Eagles on the field. Like, that's where it gets. For him to take a shot at the fan base and say what he said about the Cowboys fans, which... If you go to any American city, there are Cowboys fans, and you start to wonder, are you a Cowboys fan because they were great and they were winning titles in the 90s and 70s, or are you a Cowboys fan through the thick and thin? Every Cowboys fan is really being tested this season.
I love when guys are bold because everybody takes the politically correct approach because you never know what's going to happen in the future. You never know what team you're going to play for. You never know what kind of coaches you're going to encounter down the line in your career. But oftentimes you say, you know what? I'm so invested where I am. My 10 toes are down, as Telvin Smith says, where I am. I can care less if I offend a team, a player, another fan base, because I love the colors that I wear. I bleed these colors. I'm going to ride for this logo, and I'm going to say whatever I need to say moving forward. I remember I was playing for the Detroit Lions, and we had some battles with the Cowboys. And every time, going into every game, it was all about the Cowboys. And I kept thinking to myself, they're not as good as us. Like, this isn't a dominant Cowboys team. And I just get so mad and increasingly more frustrated. And I remember being in Dallas, and I was trying to figure out, what am I going to say to my team? They've been in situations so many times. We've been on the road so many times. They heard me say all these poetic words before every game. And I kept thinking, all right, what do they say about Dallas? What do they think about Dallas? What's the perception of Dallas? Oh, they're America's team, the other American. And I started thinking, wait a minute. Are they America's team? Right. And I remember looking to the eyes of my players pregame, and I said, they say that these guys are America's team. And I pointed right down where they were warming up. And I said, but we're America's heartbeat. We stand for more. We mean more to this nation right now. And that's what we basically are saying about the Cowboys right now. There's other teams that the nation are more concerned about than the Cowboys. This isn't years past where we couldn't wait to see the Cowboys play. They're struggling. And I think for the Eagles and for teams that they're facing moving forward, they're saying, stop hyping up the Cowboys. Talk about teams that are playing well. So I feel, Kelsey, you know, oftentimes words like this, they don't go over easy. But if you're bold enough to say it, I can respect the confidence.
Well said by everybody across the board. We'd love to hear more on Twitter. If you guys want to tweet us at #GMFB tonight. We're talking about Lev Bell tweeting backwards, but the Steelers trying to keep it going and get right again, keeping that streak alive against the Carolina Panthers. They're playing at home, and you can join the game day kickoff crew live from high on the West Coast. Hello, sir.
Smiley to be here with you all. I mean, we love tonight, but how about 3 weeks from today, Thursday Night Football, Cowboys Saints? That's big time stuff. What better place to throw up the X than a city that spells throw with an X? Des Bryant already has the T-shirts printed, THREAUX. The Saints have a new X Factor, signing the ex-Cowboy to a one-year deal. Bryant joining a team on a 7-game win streak with a ton of offensive weapons. Dallas will get to witness firsthand how Dez looks in that Saints uniform when the Cowboys host New Orleans in Week 13 right here on Thursday Night Football on NFL Network. Here's how they feel about their ex.
How motivated do you think he will be to play against you guys?
You'll have to ask him. Wish Dez nothing but the best.
What do you think he'll say?
I have no idea. I really don't. I love Dez. Wish him nothing but the best going forward. It's a great spot for him.
All right, then. Elsewhere, running back Leonard Fournette back at practice Wednesday for the Jaguars. Fournette hasn't played since week 4 with a hamstring injury, and he hasn't finished a game all season. Jacksonville has lost 4 in a row. Well, the new Browns head coaching search will be handled by general manager John Dorsey. Cleveland.com reporting that owners Jimmy and Dee Haslam will have a say, but Dorsey will lead the process. This will be his first career coaching hire. Arian Rappaport has said that Oklahoma head coach Lincoln Riley and Pats offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels are potential candidates. Well, when we come back, for whom the
turn to 100.
You talking about Schrager's takes or the View or what?
Schrager leaning in on me.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa,
take it easy. You're up in your 50 stories up in Manhattan, you're overlooking, and you're arguing about Alvin Kamara and Austin Eckler. It's intense, man.
I heard you're not the biggest fan of heights.
No, I don't like looking out these windows at all. I almost passed out when I went on the Space Needle, and I'm from Seattle.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's weird.
All right.
I'm scared of heights, but I had hops.
You catch your breath while we send it over to the newsroom in Los Angeles to get the latest and the greatest. Steve, what up?
What's going on? Afraid of heights, but he's got hops. I like that. The only other thing, though, it's dark here. It's light where you are, so that's nice.
Yeah.
Because the sun has not risen yet
true.
in Los Angeles.
Let's
get to the news. The Patriots' last loss came against a team led by a former New England coach, but this week they take on a team coached by a former Pats player. It is a first for Bill Belichick, going up against the Titans' Mike Vrabel. Now, while Belichick has faced former assistants before, this is going to mark the first time that he will coach against one of his former players. Vrabel spent 8 seasons in New England, winning 3 Super Bowl titles under Belichick. Vrabel spoke about his relationship with his former head coach.
You know, I can't deny the fact that I played there for 8 years. We had a lot of success. You know, Bill was my coach. You know, he traded me to Kansas City. We didn't talk for a couple months, maybe a year. And then we became friends, and I used him as a resource when I coached, when I started my coaching career, and still talk to him, you know, a lot now. And this week we're competitors, and we're always competitors as far as I'm still coaching, and so is he.
Now, meantime, tight end Rob Gronkowski returned to practice on a limited basis Wednesday. He's dealing with ankle and back issues. Now, Gronk missed 2 of the last 3 games due to those injuries. He was limited last Wednesday as well before missing the game, so his status for Sunday's game against the Titans is still up in the air. As for the Titans, Mike Vrabel not happy with Kevin Byard's celebration on the Star in Dallas last week. The safety told reporters Wednesday that he regrets his reaction and understands that he looks selfish. He's concerned how his coach and teammates view him. Byard added that he does not want to end up in the doghouse over a celebration. But you know what, Kay? You go to the Chow Brothers, you make a fantastic pierogi, you take that thing to the middle of the restaurant, you spike it.
That's right. You spike it, you slam them, you eat the whole plate, just dump them into your mouth, and you go.
Love this guy.
Darn straight.
Also, they won the game. They won the game, Steve.
Winners can do whatever they want. To the winner goes the spoils.
We'll talk to you in a little bit as you hold your breath for that sun to rise on the West Coast. Back here in studio, what do you make of Vrabel after the fact, you know, being a little harsh on Byard?
In my experience, there's only 2 types of coaches, A and B. There's the ones who say, have fun, have a party, be yourself, express yourself. And then there's the ones who just hate it. And I look at Mike Vrabel's playing career. If it had been Asante Samuel or Rodney Harrison who had gone and stood on the Star, Belichick would have killed him. He's not into that. That's why they say it's a fear-based organization. I will say, though, I know a guy who once did an incredible sideline report and then went and stood on an ESPN logo and put his hands out like, it was you, Peter. You did it.
Oh,
Fess up. I saw you.
No, it didn't happen. But yeah, he stunted on him.
Hey,
Is there
baby.
a third kind of coach? Because you're saying that there's 2. That's to the media and to everyone says, that's unacceptable, I don't like it, but in the back is like, all right, bro, good job. Is there that, does that exist?
Sure.
Yeah,
Jim
there's
Moore.
the third
That's
guy.
the second type.
Jim Moore Jr. in Seattle. We were playing the Jags, and he came up to me and he was like, Nate, I need you to do something this game to get your team going. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I need you to do a celebration that gets.
Did he fine you afterwards?
He was like, if you get fined,
What?
If you get fined, I'll take care of it.
No.
So I scored a touchdown.
Good thing he's not coaching now.
I threw the ball into the stands. Luckily, like I was able to knock the fine down because I didn't throw it too hard. But
Did
he was
he pay
one
for
of those
the
guys,
check?
No, he didn't pay for it. Hey, I'm looking for that money, Jim. But
did
he's
he
one of those
stand up
coaches.
and say, that was unacceptable, Nate Burleson? I can't believe he did that.
He was like, Nate, you got to be better in front of the media. But in the back, he was like,
interesting.
You played for Jim Schwartz, who almost fought another coach on the field.
yeah, oh, Jim Schwartz, he'll let you do whatever. As long as the team was pumped, I mean, we was ready to rock, man. That's
To
my
me,
guy.
Jim Schwartz
Shout out to
seems
Schwartz.
very scary.
But I think what made
100%.
Vrabel, I bet Holmgren was not here for it, though.
Oh,
Tell me
yeah.
not.
Listen,
Holmgren seems all business.
I don't know how much time we have, but one time at practice, I'm out here. I caught a ball. We're playing routes versus air. It's 11 guys going on there, and I'm my first year with the team. I catch the ball, and I'm like a little kid at recess.
Is
I have
Mike
all these,
Holmgren?
Mike Holmgren
Yeah.
in Seattle, and I have all these invisible guys that I'm shaking. I'm like, go, and he scores 10, 5, 4, and I dive into the end zone, and he brings everybody up. He's like, come on, guys, everybody, come on, bring it up for a second, bring it up. And I'm like, what is it? Practice in early? He's like, all right, guys, look. Some guys are coming from different teams and they're playing around at practice. And we don't do certain things. And he does like one of these. I'm over here and he's like, you know, out here in Seattle, we don't do things like this. And I'm like, damn, we can't have fun. And one of the guys was like, hey, we don't do that here at practice. We don't clown around. We don't laugh. We just kind of go through the practice and have our big. I'm like, you don't laugh at what?
Diving in the end zone in practice is kind of clown.
I know it is. It's kind of
laughing is one thing.
He was like, if you hurt your shoulder, it's going to be a problem.
And DJ Hackett started that game, not Nate.
For real. I was on the bench.
Darrell Jackson at 300 yards.
But here's the thing. Shout out to Holmgren, man. I love that dude. He was teaching me a lesson. I had to tighten up. I was a little bit of a clown when I left Minnesota, so I had to tighten the screws and become a little bit more professional.
Vrabel's probably tightening the screws around his offense and defense. He's got a huge matchup against the Patriots on Sunday. We've got a huge one for you on NFL Network tonight. Of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers hosting the Carolina Panthers, and we've got the awesome NFL app that you need to download. It's back. It's a woman.
Good.
She's usually a healer, but she will be shredding some things, maybe today.
I like the wordplay on that.
Awesome and Wedding Crashers.
No relation to Dan Quinn.
Right?
No, the wedding, she ruined everything I knew about Jane Seymour and Shredison Woman with that 1 2-hour movie with those clowns.
Well, listen.
Ruined it.
Let's get right to it then. Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was banged up over the last couple of years. He went and saw the Shredison man. And he's on fire. He's been throwing for 3 or more touchdowns in 5 straight games. That's the 4th longest streak in NFL history.
Yeah.
He extends that streak on Sunday against the Jags. Shreddy, and I'm curious because I want to know if he's going to keep cooking like Shreddy Crocker.
I said he reminds me of Superman changing from Clark Kent into his costume in the middle of a city and nobody's noticing how amazingly he's been playing for 5 weeks straight. Can I see that?
Yeah.
For 5 weeks straight, guys, he has been a top 10 quarterback. If you look at where he's been, look at these matchups. He finished 3rd, 4th, 10, inside the top 10 for 5 straight weeks. I'm looking at NFL.com. I'm looking at a lot of projections across the landscape of fantasy football, and they have him as a quarterback too, which doesn't make any sense to me. You've been a top 10 quarterback, and I think, honestly, it's a little lazy to look at the Jags as the opponent, and they're a tough defense, and he's not going to do well against them. A.J. Boye was not in the game that we were all at in London against the Eagles, and what did Carson Wentz do? He had a brilliant day for 286 yards and 3 touchdowns. Guess what? A.J. Boye is out again. I think Luck keeps his streak very much alive. I will say he will score for 3 touchdowns. So the lovely Shredison woman will not get any.
Okay. Let me keep that then. All right.
Okay.
Sorry.
He's a little underrated.
Another
for what he's
game.
doing,
All
right?
Great this year.
6 straight games it's going to be. I see you, Andrew Luck.
All right. Jane Seymour big on the Hallmark movie circuit at this point. Yeah, she's in all those movies.
Is that right?
Yeah, she's like Lacey Chebert's mother-in-law. She's great in it. All right, let's carpe
From Mean
diem,
Girls
as
and
they
Party
said in
of
the Shred
5?
Poet Society. That's right. Adrian Peterson will be a top 10 running back in Week 10. Kay Adams, Shredison woman, what say you?
I'm worried about Adrian Peterson. It's not because a lot of people in fantasy said sell high while he was great because they thought wear and tear and age. It's really not his fault at all. He struggled last week, and I think it continues because let's take a look at how banged up this offensive line is. It is legit bad. They're going to miss 3 of their starters this week, potentially 4 starters, gentlemen, and 2 backups are also done for the year as well. I hate it. He had 9 carries for just 17 yards against the Falcons. It's going to be the offensive line that's going to be an issue with Adrian Peterson for the rest of the year. The injury report is brutal, and they are going up against the Bucs. Tampa Bay, I know they have one of the worst defenses in the league, but they kind of low-key are stout against the run. They allow the 6th fewest points to running backs. So I will say Adrian Peterson's top 10 running back days are over.
Oh, man.
I didn't do it. She's doing it. Don't get mad at me.
Adrian!
bet Seymour was up for that part.
Yeah. Was it Talia Shire with the role? Dr. Quinn, medicine woman, for the younger viewers. Here's the description, one sentence. The fifth daughter of a wealthy Boston physician, Michaela Quinn, defies the conventions of post-Civil War society by following in her father's footsteps and pursuing her doctoral life. All right.
Oh, thanks, man.
So it was set in like those times.
Oh, yeah.
The American West. Colorado Springs, if I'm not mistaken.
Is that right? And there
Way
was
too much info.
There was a dreamy Joe Lando.
Joe Lando.
Great hair. Amazing.
You're telling me you guys watched
Move over, Fabio.
It was ubiquitous, rather. It was everywhere. Yeah. I feel like they promoted the hell out of DQ. I loved it.
DQ, not Dan Quinn, but
Dr. Quinn.
Keenan Allen.
Woman.
Keenan Allen will score his first touchdown since week 1 this weekend against the Raiders. Kay, what do you and Shredison have to say?
Me and Shredison have to say that Julio Jones scored his first touchdown last week. So now this is the new thing. This is the new slump that the NFL needs to put their eyes on. The fact that Keenan Allen hasn't scored since week 1. I do think he does it this week. I'm going to go ahead and say he's too talented, and I love the matchup, of course. He breaks the slump. It's been a 9-week one, but I'm trying to think of who they even have as a matchup. The Raiders. Oh, Nick Mullins, that's all I have to say.
Nick Mullins lit him up.
He lit him up. He's absolutely going to score for the first time in 9 weeks. I will not shred this. I have one for you guys. You ready?
Yes.
Kay should prank other hosts with faulty props.
Oh, was that your call?
Did you make that happen? They're talking about the
roll tape.
The Shrakes?
I think the prank's on you, Adam.
The controller will continue to prank me with rolling B-roll.
This was a disintegrating whiteboard yesterday.
I didn't do that. I'm kidding.
Sad trumpet. I like it.
The candle that won't blow out.
But
Got it at the same store.
I just love how defeated you looked. Then you all of a sudden just ripped it apart. It was my favorite.
I see you, Kay.
I'm not going to shred this either.
Taking shots?
No.
Taking shots at Peter like Shred Dead Redemption?
Hey! Or Shred Redemption.
Relevant.
You're really trying to work those puns in there today, Kay. You really are. Thanks to everybody who gave us name suggestions.
Sure.
This is the winner for today.
Thank you.
Play Andrew Luck, sit Adrian Peterson.
Yeah,
Nate went to go kiss a shredder on the mouth.
Nate's on a different kind of medicine. You can't get it from the doctor, right?
What does that even mean?
There's another show on a different channel, Medicine Dealer.
I'm on that Christian.
So much to talk about and 4 smiles at the breakfast table because we are hours away from a huge matchup with huge implications with two teams that have all the momentum in the world on both sides.
It's that time of the year already? Implication time?
Implication. Hashtag implications.
A lot of ins, a lot of outs, a lot of what have yous. Time for the lead block.
Lead block.
Let's do it. And let's start by welcoming in Aditi Kinkhabwala. She's been with the Steelers all week, and this offense has been en fuego through this 4-game winning streak that they're on. They are facing a seasoned defense tonight in the Panthers who are creating a ton of turnovers. What makes that Carolina D go?
Okay, it's the linebackers, and it's a lineage that actually goes back 30 years. But we'll start with this week. Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin could not have been more positive in his reviews of Panthers linebackers Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis. In fact, he compared the two to a tandem from a couple decades ago, Brian Urlacher, who just went into the Hall of Fame, and Lance Briggs. And what's interesting about that is that Ron Rivera coached both Urlacher and Briggs with the Bears. So this week I asked Coach Rivera about that comparison. He said it's a little bit generous, but he said, really, I think of the great linebackers that I played with. And of course, when Rivera was a second-year player, he was on those 85 Bears where Mike Singletary and Otis Wilson were the linebackers. So I asked him, I said, what's the common thread in these 3 linebacker tandems that we're talking about? He said the middle linebacker is always an incredibly smart guy that can carry a lot of responsibility. He said the will linebacker, in this case Thomas Davis, is a playmaker, a guy who just has a knack for the ball. Now, Davis this week said a big key for the Panthers will be slowing down running back James Conner. He called the Steelers running back a beast, and he also talked about the running back story. Of course, James Conner is a local native to Pittsburgh. He grew up in Erie. He played his college football here at Pitt. He's an absolute fan favorite. And if there's one thing that we know about Steelers fans, it's when they find a favorite, they latch on. And there's another thing that we have to say about Steelers fans, Kay. They are about as passionate as anybody gets. And I'll tell you why I am doing my live shot right here. This, guys, is my son's college fund. My husband, who was born in Pittsburgh, grew up in Pittsburgh, sat on the Steelers season ticket wait list for 21 years. His number was finally called the year we were buying a house and having a baby. So I said, honey, I think we can put this off for a few years. He said, no. So if anybody needs 4, I've got them.
Yeah, Didi!
Didi? That's amazing.
Didi's the GOAT.
Yeah, Didi, how's the view from those seats? Sell them to the people watching. I'm sure they'll be interested. Right?
They are unbelievable. Joe, any way you could show this view right here? This is pretty intense, Nate.
Yes,
a really good deal. Maybe we can get 1 year of college.
Oh, man. All right.
Okay.
Operator standing by.
Just amazing seats. I can't help but think about The Dark Knight Rises when I look at that stadium.
I hear that.
Great
Very
stuff.
dark. You're right.
That's true.
Heinz Ward is a kick returner.
Didi, we appreciate you, and we'll talk to you tonight. And take a selfie. Are you going to the game tonight from those seats?
I have never used these seats, guys. I always am working. Like I said, if anybody needs them,
Call me, she says. Tweet her at Aditi Kikabwala on Twitter. Panthers at Steelers tonight. Looking forward to it, to the league's brightest. Tweet the show at #GMFB. Big news coming down Tuesday. Des Bryant agreed to a 1-year deal with the New Orleans Saints, and our own Will Selva, Ian Rappaport, Jane Slater, Tom Pelissero. Everybody was on hand to break
Rappaport's son, Jude, also on camera.
I saw that.
An amazing shot.
I'm glad you said that. It was an unexpected guest who stole the show.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, I think that, that certainly is a good question. And hold on one second.
Yes. Like it.
That's my son.
Rappaport kids. Yes. Love this.
Come here, buddy.
I love it.
All right.
We have young
So
insiders,
let me
too.
This is an ode to Michael Thomas.
Love this.
So let me explain. Why it's unbelievable. Let me explain why Des Bryant makes sense for the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, they have Michael Thomas, one of the premier receivers in the NFL, but you look at the other side of him, Ted Ginn Jr., obviously injured. They've been searching for kind of the sidekick there. Got Traquan Smith, a promising young player. But besides that, it's really the 2 running backs who have come in and who have come in and been the production guys in this offense.
And we bring in the Rap Sheet at Rap Sheet. Ian Rappaport joining us. I mean, we're here for Jude. Where's Jude?
Unbelievable.
Very sadly, Kay, Jude is in school. He's feeling better. His fever is back to normal. So instead of doing his scheduled TV appearance, he decided to go do Play-Doh and reading and whatever else they do in preschool. So
bad move by him. This was a business decision. He's adorable.
I think it was, but I will say this. He got a lot of notoriety yesterday, so I think mission accomplished for whatever he was trying to do.
Got to start him an Instagram page. I love it. And the sticking his tongue out was the cutest thing ever. Let's get back to football. You and Jane Slater broke some huge news yesterday. Des Bryant is headed to New Orleans. What's next for Des?
The next step for Des Bryant is to actually sign his contract, and I know it seems like it's taken forever from the Tuesday workout. Late night on Tuesday, we learned that he was working on a deal, finally agreed to terms yesterday afternoon. And remember, Des Bryant was actually not in New Orleans. He flew back to Dallas. He went to go. One of his children was having a birthday party, so Des Bryant attended that. Now slated to head back to New Orleans today and actually sign his contract and officially become a member of the Saints. But if you look at it, there's 2 things that are at play here. One, the Saints need to make a roster move. My understanding is that it is Cam Meredith, a receiver who's been battling a knee injury, expected to go on injured reserve. He's got a doctor's appointment today. We'll see if he ends up needing surgery. He may or he may not. And then there's the fact of, is Des going to actually play? Remember, he's missed Wednesday's practice during this week. He has not seen the playbook yet. Seems to me, Kay, it'd be hard for Bryant to get on the field this Sunday.
All right, Sam, Ian, let's talk about Sam Darnold. I almost called you Sam there. He had himself a rough game against the Dolphins, and now he's dealing with a foot injury. What's the latest on the Jets rookie quarterback?
Sounds like Sam Darnold is not going to be able to play this week. Todd Bowles would not officially rule him out. Yesterday, when talking to reporters about this foot sprain or strain or whatever we were actually calling it, I've heard it both ways, But it seems like it's not a good sign for Darnold to be watching practice in a boot yesterday. I'm told not expected to play this week. So then there's the bye week, and at this point, they are going to reevaluate him after the bye. There is a chance, I'd say a fairly realistic chance, that Darnold only misses one game, then gets back on the field. And honestly, guys, it might not even be a bad thing for a rookie quarterback who's been thrust into play, as soon as possible, to take a step back and kind of catch his breath might actually be beneficial.
Great stuff from Ian Rappaport there. More on Jude, though.
Yeah, Ian, we're marveling at this clip, and you do so many hits in the basement over and over and over. It's fantastic. Jude has to come in when it's real big news that everyone's been waiting for. It couldn't have been during tight end workouts at the combine. You know what I mean? His timing was not great, Ian.
No, it was not great. And I will say this. I blame my wife, Leah, completely. It was her fault. She was supposed to be watching him. Instead, she was making him lunch, and he knew that he was not supposed to come in. But guys, he needed to hit pause. He didn't know where the pause button was. A very complicated remote. So Jude needed answers.
So you have that universal remote right there. That means you got a pretty good layout down there.
He's so cute, I can't stand it.
But what killed me is, Ian, you go back to the desert port with Jude on your lap with his tongue out. Amazing.
Ian didn't hit pause.
Ian,
he kept going.
First he gave him the stiff arm, though. First he gave him the father stiff arm.
We're going to put Ian on angry runs. Against it's perfect.
I'll tell you what I really liked here was Jude saw himself in the monitor and then was like, ooh, there I am. Let me stick my tongue out. And I'm like, yeah, we've been there. It looks cool to see yourself on TV.
I love it. Tell Jude we hope he feels better. Glad to hear it sounds like he is back at school. And we appreciate you, Ian Rappaport, for all the latest. Le'Veon Bell might show up. That's still going on. Dez and the Saints still trying to get it all worked out. So we'll be talking to Ian a lot, I think, this weekend. Let's send it over to Steve Weissman out in the Los Angeles studio. Steve, do you have any babies hanging around there?
No, but I mean, you stole the breaking news. Jude Rappaport is healthy, goes from doubtful to playing in school today. So that's the big news of the day.
Good. Doubtful to playing in school. That was good. Well done.
There you go. Well, y'all were in London recently. The Tate is a family of 4 art galleries there. And now Philadelphia will open its own Tate with a golden collection joining the Eagles family. Golden Tate will put his new jersey on display for the first time this Sunday against Dallas. He has that rare opportunity to play the Cowboys 3 times in one season. In Week 4 with the Lions, he went for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns against Dallas. And speaking about the Philly offense, Tate says if they do their job, they will light up the scoreboard. Carson Wentz looking forward to curating the Eagles Tate Modern.
Obviously, adding a piece like that's exciting. A guy with the big play ability that Golden brings. You see him, making highlight plays all the time, and just things he can do after the catch get you excited. Getting to know him off the field just a little bit. I'm definitely excited to work with him, and I think he's I think he fits in really well with this culture, and he's going to help us for sure.
Good news for Falcons linebacker Deion Jones. He was back on the practice field Wednesday. He's eligible to return to the roster in Week 11. Jones tested the condition of his injured foot last week, but never formally took part in a practice before the team's win over Washington. Now, this is a story all about how our lives got turned upside down, and I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you all about the tweet of a guy called Bell live on air. Steelers running back Le'Veon Bell tweeting upside down that he's not apologizing for what he believes is right. Of course, we will have any fresh updates on the Pittsburgh Prince or Pariah, whatever you want to say, Nate, coming up in this show. Maybe he'll tweet in the next segment.
Bro, did you just go full Fresh Prince on us right there?
I did.
I like that, man. Well done. I caught that. You didn't slip that one by me. Hey, thank you, man. You've been awesome all day. We'll check back in with you a little bit later. Now, tonight, T.J. Watt will try to contain Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers in this Pittsburgh matchup. While prepping for the game, T.J. took a ride with our own Carissa Thompson and explained everything from breaking down Big Ben to his eating habits.
I read that you had an 8,000 calorie diet.
Just a statue, not even move. His facial expression doesn't even change. It's fantastic.
You're the best is going to get headlines because he's telling Aaron Rodgers when he's got Tom Brady. That's all one thing. to me, how encouraging he was to the defensive line. This positive version. We think of him as so draconian and so negative and so harsh and fear-based organization. Really uplifting to the defensive line, saying, hey, if we hold these guys to 17 points, we're going to win this game. Great job, guys. I love that.
That's what I've never seen him on the sideline chewing anybody out on anything that's mic'd up. Like when they do the football life and how they got to the Super Bowl, it's always him being like, we need everybody to just do your job. He's very calm and effective, obviously.
I love the two different sides of him. There's one side that sits back, like when you're talking about how they scored the touchdowns and he doesn't respond. I can imagine in his head he's thinking with his hands in his pocket, he doesn't move what he says. That's exactly how I drew it up to be, right? But then there's other times where even the game itself, like the beautiful sport of football, impresses him. The coach comes over and he says, that rush was unbelievable. We got our ends up, we contained him, and we got to the quarterback and we got hit on him. Like, that's what we need. It's almost like he didn't know that was coming, or he didn't know they were going to be that good, which is why he had to go over and tell the guys, hey, we need that type of rush all game long for 4 quarters. I love that because sometimes coaches, they're so full of themselves, quite frankly, that they feel like every play is the play that they drew up. But sometimes you just got to fall in love with the beauty of it, and he still does it. As great as he is, he still falls in love with the beauty and unpredictability of football.
What about the sneakiness of him going down the sideline?
Yeah, there was something there with the ref where he ran down and didn't call a timeout.
Rule
Said,
is,
you can't do that if you're going to do it.
What's the rule?
We hear about this every week.
They encourage you to run over and make it really deliberate.
We see McVay run into the end zone sometimes.
Of course, but there's a coach's box, so you're not supposed to do that unless you're calling the timeout. So he ran down and kind of faked it and said, what do you want me to do? And they're like, you just can't be down
every rule in the book. I will say,
Coach, do you need something?
Yeah, I saw you out of the corner of my eye. Yeah, I'm good. You know, it's funny what you say about praising and positive. It was also during a game where they're holding Rodgers to 17 points. I would love to see one where the game is not going. So I would love to see Patriots-Lions from earlier in the season, which was really tough, because then maybe we'd see a different side of it. That needs to be the sequel.
And how about this? You know, most time when a quarterback throws a touchdown, the head coach never cares why you did it or how it happened, how the sausage is made. It's just like, great touchdown, let's move on. As soon as Brady comes to the sideline, he couldn't wait to get to him. Hey. Who are you throwing it to? And Brady, of course, gives me the right answer. I was throwing it to Josh. But really, though, Brady, come on. I know he's throwing to Julian. Like, you don't throw a fade ball inside the numbers, okay? You throw a fade ball outside the numbers. You think
Brady wasn't going to say, well, actually, I was throwing to Jules, but it happened, worked out.
Here's the thing. A coach is just like a parent. A coach is just like a parent. He never asks the question that he doesn't know the answer to. Dude. So he knew that Brady was throwing somewhere else.
I can't decide if I want him mic'd up every week, and that would be like my dream come true, or if it's good that it's just once in a while that we get the...
It's like Bigfoot. I don't want to see Bigfoot all.
In the newsroom in Los Angeles this morning. Hi, Steve.
Hello, Kay. And by the way, you can see Will on NFL Fantasy Live later today. So still, he'll be in the building.
Never miss it.
Just not early.
Okay.
Yeah. Who dat? Des Bryant already has the T-shirts printed. Throw up the X, spelled T-H-R-E-A-U-X. The Saints, they got their new X Factor, signing the ex-Cowboy to a 1-year deal. So Bryant joins the team on a 7-game win streak with a ton of offensive weapons. And Dallas will get to witness firsthand how Dez looks in a Saints uniform when the Cowboys host New Orleans in Week 13 on Thursday Night Football. That is 3 weeks from today right here on NFL Network. Bryant giving Drew Brees another target in an offense averaging about 35 points a game.
Been a really good player in this league for a long time, and there is certainly a skill set that he has that is going to be beneficial, and so I look forward to getting to work with him. I look forward to building a rapport with him. I look forward to getting him involved in this offense and just become a complement to all the guys that we already have. I think he'll see that too when he gets here, and I'm sure he's been watching from afar. It's just how he'll integrate into this offense, and I think he'll be a great addition. I mean, it's not like you just hand him the playbook and expect him to learn it overnight. I mean, it's one of those things that's a process, I think, for any new guy coming in, especially a skill player. Just it's new verbiage. I don't know how much carryover there'll be from, what he had in Dallas. Probably not a lot, So I think that's a process, but you bring him along and you want to put him in positions to succeed, right? You want to take the stuff that he's really good at and then integrate him into the offense accordingly. So we'll have a plan for that as we go along.
Looking forward to seeing those two team up. Elsewhere, Bears outside linebacker Khalil Mack. He had a full practice Wednesday. That is a good sign for his availability on Sunday against Detroit. Mack sprained his right ankle against the Dolphins. He's been inactive the past 2 games, and before that, Mack had never missed a game in his career. Well, this past weekend, the Cowboys hosted a special baby shower for 5 military moms-to-be from Fort Hood in Texas. The expecting soldiers were treated to hair and makeup services, a tour of the Cowboys headquarters. They were showered with gifts and a surprise meeting from Cowboys players and coaches. Absolutely awesome to see the Cowboys honoring these moms-to-be who also sacrificed by serving our country. And by the way, salute to service, near $1.4 million raised now, Kay?
It was just over $1 million on Monday, raising so much money for such a great cause. Keep those hashtags coming. Hashtag salute to service. And go to NFL.com/salute to service to learn more. Appreciate you, Steve. We're talking about Thursday night action, which is hours away on NFL Network. Tonight, Luke Kuechly and those Panthers hope to win their 4th straight as they head to the Steel City while prepping for the game. Luke took a couple of minutes and talked to Rachel Lindsay, and he explained how he's prepping for Big Ben and those Steelers.
With so many offensive weapons like the Steelers have, how do you go into the week preparing for that?
You know, the one thing that's good.
Last year, he took a job in Arizona, which leaves Eric Washington to be the defensive coordinator. They add Eric Reed. They add a couple other players like Dante Jackson, the rookie. And I think the defense might be better this year than they were last year. I think the defense in Carolina is the story that no one's talking about. Can't wait to see them and see if they can shut down the Steelers in Pittsburgh.
You know, this offense has been the topic of discussion. You know, it's Le'Veon Bell. Is he going to come back? James Conner, who is he? He steals the show. Antonio Brown, Juju, all these hosts of players, even Vance McDonald, Jesse James, all these different individuals, right? But that defense last week, they showed up and showed out. I mean, that rivalry between the Steelers and the Ravens, and it seemed like the Steelers were hitting a little bit differently. Like they were hitting a little bit harder. It seemed like every time there was a player tiptoeing around the middle, they ended up on their back. There was one drive route that Crabtree had, and he had the ball in his hands, and boom, he was on his back before he could even look up. So I'm looking at this defense kind of getting going. This could be one of those games where this defense hits this very high-flying, fast-moving offense of the Panthers right in the mouth early in the game, and they control the narrative the rest of the game.
They're tackling like crazy, the Steelers are. So then you look at a guy like Curtis Samuel or McCaffrey or even Cam Newton, who obviously do a lot of the work after the ball's in their hands, and they might be stopped short of what they're used to or what they've been used to on this winning streak because of all of that tackling. For the Panther side of things, those 13, I'll go back to it, 13 turnovers in over a 5-1 stretch. I want to see them take that ball to the house. Only 2 of those were touchdowns. Hopefully we get one under the bright lights on NFL Network.
If the Steelers beat up on the Panthers, do we put them in that Patriots-Chiefs conversation in the AFC, or are we still waiting and saying they're not in that top 2?
The Chiefs, maybe. I can't put them in a conversation with the Patriots. Not right now. The Patriots are their owners, and we know that, and people get pissed off when I say that, but it's true. I look at the other side, too. If Carolina beats them up in Pittsburgh, are they as good as the Saints? I think Carolina might be the best team in football if they win this game tonight, going away. They're that good.
You know, it could be one of them games where Big Ben throws the ball
great game
45 times, right? We've seen Big Ben drop back, and he's just let it rip if he needs to. It could be Big Ben throwing the ball 45, close to 50 times. Cam Newton throwing it 25 times and being more efficient. I mean, what we've seen out of Cam, and we compared those numbers early in the show, is that Cam is taking less risk running the ball, dropping back and delivering the ball. So Cam could outperform Big Ben at quarterback tonight, and it wouldn't shock me.
Ooh, Big Ben playing at home. Cam, though, with rocking a 67% completion percentage. He's only gone over 60% once in his long career. We'll see how it shakes out, right? With the Steelers and the Panthers tonight, hours away on NFL Network. And he's taken over the Steelers' backfield. Has he taken the top spot?
Would win the rushing title. Peter, with new pictures up in the upper left, drafted Kareem Hunt. Then we snaked to Gurley, Jordan Howard, Fournette, all the way down to round 3, Saquon, Melvin, Royce Freeman, me with the last pick, Kerryon Johnson.
We drafted them in August.
Drafted them in August, so now through 9 weeks of NFL football, let's go to the races, my friend, and see how we're doing. And away they go.
Okay.
Peter's team on top, then Nathan, K's, and Kyle's with number 30 with the Los Angeles Rams out in front. Chased closely behind by a Kansas City Chief and a Dallas Cowboy on the bottom, but it is Gurley still out in front with 868. Then Kareem, James Conner not in this graphic, who's second in the league. Ezekiel down the bottom. Peter, take us through your team at the top.
I'm just happy Kareem Hunt is keeping pace. I took the defending rushing champion first overall, and he's doing me good. Get him! Get Gurley! Get him!
All right, I got Ty Gurley, obviously, so I'm representing. But if I go back to the screen with all the running backs,
let's see.
I'm looking at Le'Veon Bell, who
He's at LA Fitness playing basketball.
hasn't got out the blocks. But I think if I turn the screen around upside down, I'll be able to understand front. He's in first place.
Yes.
And if you think about it, he actually is in first place because we're talking about him. So
incredible.
If you turn it around, he's in first place.
I've got less than 400 yards between Dalvin Cook and Royce Freeman, and they both have buys this week. I'm going to go ahead and say Le'Veon Bell laps them. Maybe the first or second week he's back.
Okay.
My guys are doing nothing. Jordan Howard, Tariq Cohen. I thought we were friends. I drafted Jordan Howard, and he's got nada for me.
Smokey, a great player. I got Zeke out in front. Big game, obviously, against the Eagles on Sunday. Kerryon Johnson's kind of leveled off. And Leonard Fournette, 71 yards on the year. Been hurt, but potentially coming back.
He was back at practice on Wednesday. Looking good. We're hearing good things about him. He'll probably help out Bortles and company in a big game against Indy on Sunday.
Let's make sure that the players don't go out the night before this time.
Bring that back up. Got jumped upon?
No time for the Panthers.
They deserve no better.
No time for the Panthers and Steelers to go out because they play in a couple of hours right here on NFL Network. That